Punxsutawney Phil is a goddamn fraud and a disgrace to this country. Allow me to explain. Now, in case you live in the 93.9% of the planet that isn't the United States, February 2nd is Groundhog Day, a day on which we celebrate the 1993 comedy film Groundhog Day. In all seriousness, Groundhog Day is a holiday in which a bunch of people dressed up like the Monopoly Man wake up an angry hibernating rodent to see if he has ESP. According to cultural superstition, if the groundhog sees his shadow, then we will receive 6 more weeks of winter, and if he doesn't see his shadow, then spring will come early. Feels a bit cheating to use an animal that's less than 25 centimeters tall, because they're so close to the ground that seeing their shadow is inevitable, but I digress. Believe it or not, but the holiday has its origins in Germany. On St. Bridget's Day, which is typically celebrated on the 1st of February, people would wake up hedgehogs, and if the hedgehog sees its shadow, then more winter, you know the whole deal. But apparently, over the course of decades, we decided that wasn't dangerous enough because the next animals we chose to celebrate on those days were foxes, bears, and badgers. And then, of course, as you can expect, once those people moved over to the New World, we switched from those to the groundhog, because it's not like North America has foxes, bears, or badgers. That would just be ridiculous. Before we go any further, I just want to clarify something really quickly, that woodchucks and groundhogs are the same species. They're both Marmota monarchs, and I just say groundhog because I'm not Canadian. After doing some research as to the transition between the carnivores and the groundhog, I am starting to think that they chose the groundhog mostly because they're a lot more docile, since it's a giant squirrel rather than a bear, but also because the original Latin name for the genus was Arctomus, which is literally bear rat. So they're like, hey, it's a bear, but it's also a rat. I mean, come on, that's all we need. Anywho, I think that was some pretty interesting backstory on an often overlooked holiday, but let's move on to the meat of the video, and let's expose Punxsutawney Phil for the liar he is. Join me as we dive headfirst into this rabbit hole, or should I say, groundhog hole. I'm deleting that. That will never see the light of day. Every year in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, this cretin is awoken from his hibernation in his burrow at the Gobbler's Knob, real place name by the way, and is asked to predict the weather and then converses with the president of the inner circle of the Groundhog Club. Those are all real words that I just said. Now you may be asking yourself, how does a rodent communicate with a person? Well, the answer is obvious, stupid. Through Groundhogese, an officially recognized language by Pennsylvania. It's only spoken by 2 living individuals, that being the groundhog himself and the president of the Groundhog Club, but don't worry, we'll come back to them later. After he is done listening to the rodent and his predictions, the president will then transcribe what he's heard onto a piece of parchment using an acacia wood staff. Why acacia wood was chosen, I have no idea, since it predominantly occurs below the equator and is not native to North America, but then again, why not? Once he is done writing it down, he will then read it to the public, which are literally called faith-filled followers. There's a lot more PHs in that sentence than I'd care to admit. If you're thinking this is starting to sound like a cult, don't worry, it gets worse. According to their official website, groundhog.org, there's only one Punxsutawney Phil for the past 130 years. Despite the fact that the average lifespan of a groundhog can be counted on the average human hand, and also the fact that the US shadow government probably killed the real Punxsutawney Phil decades ago. They say the reason why he's able to live so long is because every autumn, before they shove him back into the Gobbler's Knob, they give him something called the Elixir of Life. That's right, this bastard canonically found the Fountain of Youth. Suck it, Ponce de Leon. But ignoring all of that, Phil's most important contributions to our society are his meteorological predictions. I think if his predictions are accurate, I will be willing to overlook some of the more sketchy parts of his character, like running a cult, stealing lumber from Africa, and, oh yeah, threatening the United States government with an eternal winter if he wasn't allowed to drink during Prohibition. Did I forget to mention that? Also, he got drafted into World War II. The more you know. How accurate is Punxsutawney Phil, seer of seers, prognosticator of prognosticator, and weather predictor extraordinaire? Yes, that's his official full title. How good is he at predicting the weather? Well, if we go by the extremely biased source that is groundhog.org, 100% accuracy across the board. But if you go to any actual site, you'll see that the real number lies between 35 to 41%. Overall, not the best. I don't mean to start any beef between me and Phil. This whole video is just a simple goof. I wanted to bring up some of the weird history because I was talking to one of my buddies about it. I think Phil's a great person. His cult thing, that's a whole nother kettle of fish that we'll dive into another day, but maybe he should switch career paths. I know a lot of big corporations incorporate mascots that are rodents, like you got Chuck E. Cheese, you got Disneyland, you got Canada. Maybe he should start a new job in advertising. Before I go, I want you to see this clip of him raging on the Oprah Winfrey Show back in 1995.
It all takes place in a rural setting, like a woodsy area, okay?
And you actually wait for Phil to come out. Now, you're not claiming that Phil, this is the same Phil we had for 109 years.
This is the same Phil you've had for 109 years.
Yeah, right. No wonder he looks like that. He's taking a little nap.
He's a little tired, that's all, yeah. But what took place is, initially when we were doing Groundhog
Phil
Day,
needs a nap.
if we got 400 to 500 people come, we thought we had a lot. Then it started going that we had 2,000 people, and we had to get a little bigger.
Hope you all are having a happy Groundhog Day, and I'll see you next time.